Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video we are going to be talking about how to create table, create schema, create tables in the schema, delete, drop schemas and all that. But before we start, to get set for this video, please go to the pgAdmin 4 website, download and install. You'll get the installation instructions as you install the software. Also download and install psql for your device. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please remember to subscribe. So let's jump right in. To create a table, before we talk about creating tables, let's look at the pgAdmin for user interface as you can see it on my screen. For every time you're about to use the pgAdmin for, you would have to connect to the server. So if you just double click, you're connected, but I already connected before now. You would find this drop down. So let me mention real quick that the pgAdmin 4 comes with a default schema once you download it, the public schema. So yes, I have the public schema here. And in the public schema, I don't have tables here yet. So the public schema is where your table is placed if you do not put it in a schema by yourself. And after the public schema, I have two other schemas that I created myself. The seller schema that has 3 tables, both reserve sellers. I'm sure you can remember these tables from the last video. And I also have the spy schema, which has about 11 tables. At the end of this video, we'll talk about how you can get the data in the spy schema yourself, because we'll be needing it in subsequent videos. Right, so let's start. So the first thing I want to do is to create table. In SQL, when you want to create a table, you start with the create statement. So you have create table, then the name of your table. Let's call this table account. You open a bracket, and in this bracket, what you want to do is to write down, to list out all the names of your columns and what their domains would be. So you would have something that looks like this. You have create table accounts. So we want our first column to be called ID, and we want it to have serial numbers. So this is like the column that identifies each row. So we call it ID column. Serial simply means that by default, the numbers in the ID column would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that way till the end of your data. So it would have serial numbers, it would be your primary key, and it will not have a null value. So we'll have a second column that's going to be called number. It's like account number. It's an integer. It's not going to have null values. We have the third column. It's going to be called owner, and it's of data type varchar. Varchar means varying character. So you could have as many characters as you want. Not always a good idea, but I mean you could. So why not? We have the next column is going to be called balance, and the data type is money. We have the next one going to be called type, and it's varchar with a limit 50. That means it can't have more than 50 characters. So this table looks great, but from our last video on understanding foreign keys and understanding keys as, you know, keys generally, we know that account numbers are always unique. I've never seen anybody from the same bank, two people using the same bank that have the same account number. So the account numbers are unique. So if the account numbers are unique, that means we can use them to identify each row, right? So this also means that we don't have need of creating a separate ID column, since we have a column that has unique values. So to specify that this will be a primary key, we simply just add primary key here. Say primary key, not null. So let's tap on execute script. So you have here query return successful in 55 MSEC. So to find where this is now in your table, like I said, I did not specify a schema. So because I did not specify a schema, it's going to be here in public. Let's see. Not hasn't reflected yet. So we can refresh this. Let's go to refresh. Let's see again. Yes, it's here. So you can just refresh and then you have it here. So this is it, account. This is everything we just created right now. So if we wanted to check it out, we could just say select everything. We want to see everything from, even though we don't have data in it yet, select everything from account. Now let's execute query. So there you go. We have a number, row, balance type. As you can see, we didn't add any values to the table. That's why when we selected this table, there are no values down here. So how do we delete this table? So just in case we made a mistake, we want to delete this table, you can just say drop. We want to drop table account. We want to drop it. So you execute this, it's been dropped. And you find out that when you refresh this once more, the account is gone. Right. So let's think about this. If we wanted to create this table just because there are a group of other tables related to accounts and we wanted it to have a schema of its own, we can start by creating schema. Create schema. What should we call this schema? Let's call it bank because it's like data from a bank, from bank transactions, right? So let's call it schema. Create schema bank, and we go again. So we would have exactly what we had the first time, but there would be a minor difference. And that's because we are creating a schema bank and we want the table account to be in the schema bank, we just say bank dot account. So let's execute this. So at this point, we want to refresh our schemas. Right, so now we have a schema called bank. And if we expand this, we get a table. We have this table called account. Great. Okay, so one last thing. What if we wanted to delete a schema and everything in the schema and the tables in it? We just go delete. We could just say drop schema. Let's say drop schema bank cascade. Cascade meaning the schema bank and everything in it. So let's see. One. So that's done. Let's refresh our schemas once more. We see that bank is gone. The schema bank is gone. So that's a good way of getting this done. But let's create it again because now we want to impute values. So let's execute. Let's see. Okay, let's refresh this once more. We have yes bank. So the next thing we want to do is to add insert values. We want to add data to our account table, the table in the schema bank. This table we want to add value, and in SQL to add values, use the insert statement. You want to insert something, so we want to insert into the table name is account. We want to insert into account. Then you list out all the column names. So we have number, owner, we have balance, we have type. And the next thing we do We want to put in all the values. And the great thing about this is that we can get to insert values one by one or insert values in a group, like group of values. So for inserting a group of values, we could just write values, then let's see. So we have values. So the first item in this parenthesis would be the account number. The second one would be the owner. The third one would be the balance. And the fourth one would be the type of account. So the next thing we want to do is to execute script. Let's see. Oh, yes. So because account is now in a schema, we want to say insert into bank dot account. So that's, yes, that's done. So now let's see whether we have this in there. So we want to select. So when we say select star, we use star to mean select all, everything. So we want to select everything from account, right? Want to select everything from the table called account. But because it's in a schema, you remember to put the schema name bank.account. And if you execute query, this is all the data that we just inserted into it. You can see all of them down here, and this looks good. So the next thing, let's create another table. Let's say the next table we want to create, let's call it a table having data on deposits. So we still use the create statement, create table, let's call it deposit account. And because we want this deposit account to still be in the bank schema, we go bank dot deposit account. Then we open our bracket as usual. And then we want to put in values. So this, let's call this deposit ID. So the reason we can't use account number, this account number here as a primary key is because one person could deposit money into the account multiple times. So it means now we have different rows that have the same account number. So that means we need another kind of identifier that is unique, right? So in this case, we can create a deposit ID table. So we have deposit ID, serial, primary key, not null. I've explained what all this means, but let's go to line 3. It says account number. It's going to be an integer. It's going to be not null, and it's going to reference account. So it's going to reference this table, the account table, and this number column. That's what this says. And if you remember my last video where we talked about foreign keys, we talked about how foreign keys reference a primary key, right? So this means that every number in this column, right, must be found in this number column in the account table. Let's also add bank here. Must also be found here because this references this. And I, like I mentioned in the last video, we cannot have a new account number that's not in bank.account number column in the bank.deposit account table. So let's run this. I want to execute the script. Oh, right. Let's deposit. Yeah. So the next thing we want to do is to insert values, and we want to use the insert into deposit account, just like we did the last time. We want to say insert into deposit account number, all of the names of the names of the columns of this new table, then values, then everything we have here. So let's just run this. And when we execute the script, let's see. We have deposit into we want to insert into bank.deposit account. Let's run this again. So now let's look at what it looks like. We want to select everything from bank.deposit account. So by the time we run this exactly, so you see this deposit ID, which is we said we wanted serial numbers. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 till the last row, and then we have all of these account numbers. And like I mentioned, for every account number that you see in this table, you would also find it in this table. You'd also find it in this accounts table in the numbers column. That's because this references that. So the next thing, we can just add one more table, right? Let's call that the debit account table. So maybe you can just pause this video, try to create a debit account table. What do you think should be in a debit account table? What should the domain look like? Maybe pause this video, type it out, and cross-check with mine. So we have the debit account table. We also have a debit ID table, which is primary key. The account number also references the bank dot account number column. We want this debit account table to be in the bank schema. So right. So let's run this. We want to execute this script. And the next thing we want to do is to insert values into it. So let's insert values. We have this. Insert into bank dot. So now let's select everything from the bank dot debit account table. So this is what we have. And if we look at the bank schema, let's just refresh this. We see that we have three tables now, right? We have, let's expand this. We have the account table, debit account table, and deposit account table. We're going to end this video here. Yes, before we end this video, let's talk about the SPY schema and its table. So on this SPY schema, we have about 11 tables. Let's take a look. We have 11 tables. Affiliation rel, agent, language rel, mission, clearance. So let me open this table one after the other for you. And this is something I want you to try to do on your own. So I need you to create, before you get to the next video, create a schema, call it SPY, and you want to create all of these tables, the affiliation rel, agent, language. So I'm just going to open them one after the other. It should give you an idea of what your create statement should look like. And don't worry about the insert values. I just want you to create the table. Then I'm going to drop a link to my Kaggle where I already put this data. So you just download that data and extract it as CSV files. Then when you extract it, what you need to do is you come to the SPY schema that you already created, you right click, then let's see. Oh dear. So let's get to the SPY schema. Yes, you come to the SPY schema you already created. you get to the tables, because once you run the create statement for your tables, even if there's no data, you would have the tables. So you come to the tables, and then for every table you created, let's say you created the affiliation table, you would find the option for import. You right click on it, you find the option for import data. You click on it. Now you find wherever that file is on your system. Format is CSV, encoding is UTF-8. Then you go to the options and make sure that you select that you enable header. Once you do that, you press OK. It's going to import all that data into your database. I'm going to post another video after this one. That's a video just showing how I was able to generate the data for this spy schema. That's if it's of any interest to you. But in the description for this video, I'm going to drop my Kaggle link just so that look at you can look at the data on my Kaggle, grab it, and then just import it. So I'm going to open these tables one after the other, and this is because I want you to be able to try creating all the tables yourself. So this is what the spy.affiliation table looks like. The affiliation table has affiliation ID, affiliation name, and then description. So let's check affiliation rel very quickly. This is what it looks like. From our examples today on how to create tables, you should be able to create this table. It should look something like create table spy.affiliation rel. Then in brackets, you have agent underscore ID, and these are integers. So integers, maybe not null. So just give it a try. Give it a try. So let's look at the agent table. Agent. This is what it looks like. You have your agent ID. So because our agent ID, if you observe, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to the 1000th row. So this is going to be for this column. We want to say agent underscore ID serial primary key not null. So that's it. So we have all of these columns. So the next table would be the language. The reason I just want to go through all of them is because I want you to try creating all these tables by yourself. Moreover, you would have to create the tables before you're able to import the data from Kaggle. So this is it. Again, I can add a script to create. If you ever want the create table script, I can also signify in the comment section. I can also point you to where I will put it, but I haven't put it out there yet. Anyway, so this is the language rel. This is the mission. So I guess it's time for me to run. I'll see you on the I'll see you on the next video. If you haven't subscribed, please do remember to